everyone. How are you? So this video is going to be a shorter one, and I'm not doing a tarot reading in this one. I just came across some information that I thought would be of interest, and that it shows Harry and Meghan and how globalist they are. It's like, and of course, it centers around freedom of speech online or hate speech. That's the new thing, right? No hate speech. Now, I know some of you know that I followed the Nexium cult true crime story. I like following some true crime. And there's a channel by Mark Vicente. He's a former member of the Nexium cult, and he's come out and speaking out against cults and educating people about cults and teaching people how to help rescue people from cults. And so I highly recommend he has a video he came out with recently, 10 days ago, in fact, called What is a Cult? And he goes through his checklist. And one I want to show just a short clip here is about 48 minutes in, where he gets to number 21 about informational control. Now, notice he's talking about cults, but the same exact tactics are used by governments.
Information control. For the cult to maintain its control over everyone, information must be managed very carefully. There's an official narrative that is put out by the leadership, which is often a complete lie, about what is going on inside the cult and in the outside world. Think of it as state or corporate controlled media. You are only fed information that benefits those seeking control. This narrative is used to maintain the us versus them mentality, but also to keep the followers away from any sources of information that would be a threat to the cult leader's control. There is approved information that everybody is fed 24/7, and then the forbidden other information. All other sources are to be feared, excluded, hated, ridiculed, and forbidden. If you dare bring up other sources of information, you will experience consequences. You are forbidden to speak freely and openly about any concerns you have with the practices of the leader or the organization. In other words, it's censorship. Now, here's an interesting thing. The people who are on board with the narrative do not see any censorship. They're clueless. Because they believe the narrative so ardently, they never bump up against its boundaries. They have no idea why the fringe lunatics are causing trouble and being so dramatic. In Nixium, Raniere would talk to us about being in a war against hate, a war against people who were promoting hate. It turns out those people promoting so-called hate were trying to warn us about him.
Isn't that interesting? Nexium cult leader Keith Raniere would tell his followers, don't listen to those people who talk against me. They're just full of hate. It's hate speech, I tell you. Gotta control that information. So, speaking of which, controlling information, just recently you may have heard big news. Hi, Sharon. Hi, HRH. Yeah, I'm just doing a short video here. It's a little information I thought you would find interesting. And it does pertain to Harry and Meghan, of course, and about what's going on. And I came across this and I thought, oh, I got to share this. Now, you may have heard Dr. Buttar died recently. Everybody on Twitter he's being mourned. He was one of the original disinformation dozen. Okay, I'm sure you remember hearing about that from Jen Psaki when she was the White House correspondent. Oh, we've got this information. Disinformation doesn't. And who were they? They were the platforms that were the leading online anti-vaxxers. So the us versus them. Well, there were the vaxxers and there were the anti-vaxxers. And we remember all the vitriol brought up with that. So this report brought up, this was written by the Center for Countering Digital Hate, a non-for-profit NGO. And if you look up about the Centers for Digital Hate, their work that's carried out by two organizations collaboratively between the U.S. nonprofit organization in Washington, D.C., and the U.K. nonprofit headquartered in London. So the U.S. and London, U.S. and U.K. people working together to come up with this Center for Countering Digital Hate. So they came up with this report about these disinformation dozen, and so they came in about what a crisis it is, these anti-vaxxers, and Their executive summary was the disinformation dozen are 12 anti-vaxxers who play a leading roles in spreading digital misinformation. And their analysis, looking over Facebook and Twitter and Instagram, their research showed that 95% of COVID and vaccine misinformation was generated by these 12 disinformation dozen. They have it all analyzed here according to their calculations. They're saying they're following platforms that have they had how many 59 million. Um, they said, oh, here it is. It says in the last 2 months, up to 73% of the content originates from members of the Disinformation Dozen, the leading online anti-vaxxers, right? So they had this whole analysis. They had it all figured out. They're like, these 12 people are spreading all the misinformation. It all comes from them. 65% of all online anti-vax content, they claimed, came from these 12 people. And they made a list of them, right, including Robert F. Kennedy Jr. and many others. I'm sure you're probably familiar with their names. They account for 73% of the anti-vax content on Facebook. This report came out in March 2021, by the way. So then they list these people out here. I gotta scroll down a little bit. Apologies if I'm making you dizzy, but I just wanted to just take a general look at this report. If you're interested, you can email me. I'm sure you can find it online too. I'm happy to send it to you though. But so it's just basically so here we go. So they start listing the people, put their picture, put examples of their what they've posted, etc. So they listed each person. This is a hit list of 12 Americans that they labeled the different. So how does this relate to Harry and Meghan? Well, I'm sure many of you recall another nonprofit organization, or I should say a for-profit organization. Remember they bought Sentinel just a few months later, the same year, 2021, and October 26, 2021. Harry and Meghan had the same exact type of report that the Centers for Hate came out with. Exact same format, right? Overview, introduction, and didn't Christopher Boozy come out and basically say the same thing, that the information against Harry and Meghan were generated from a small group of single-purpose anti-Meghan accounts. And so he goes, he researched all these tweets. So exact same format, exact same report, just reformatting it for Harry and Meghan. So instead of a disinformation, the primary hate accounts, he made a list here, secondary hate accounts. I mean, the exact same thing. Even look at this. There's the network activity. Yeah, what are you gonna do with that? I mean, but see how officially trying to make it look, and then of course example sample tweets, just like in the centers just like the Center for Countering Hate, Digital Hate, doing the exact same thing. I just thought that was very interesting. It's also interesting that the U.S. and the U.K. work together on this. Isn't that interesting? Mhm. Don't know the details on that, but I just wanted to point that out, that this online hate, whatever goes against the narrative. So I just want to point that I found that very interesting that they're doing the exact same thing the government's doing. So didn't get too far with Christopher Bosey though. Yeah, the Royal Griff, give you a shout out. Yeah, I give her a shout out. My video tomorrow. Yes. See what we can uncover. We put all our information together. Well, anyways, I just want to point that out. I thought you'd find that interesting how Harry and Meghan are doing this supposed online hate, and how they're trying to come up with their own, dirty dozen. Harry and Meghan were basically trying to come up with their dirty dozen here, just the same way. And but it's very dangerous. I mean, this is very communist. This is tyrannical. And it's scary that they're doing this, trying targeting certain citizens and coming up with these. I think both of these reports are just fraudulent, and they're just making up numbers, and they're just picking on whoever they don't like and saying they're the group right there. They're generating all the hate. you know? So this is scary times. That's all I gotta say. So, anyways, that's all I wanted to share with you. Like I said, it's gonna be a short video. I just thought you'd find that interesting. Keep in mind, yeah, Soros. Yeah, Soros is intertwined in all this too. They all are. You know it. All right. So, thanks for watching. Hope you all have a wonderful evening. Take care. Bye bye, everyone.